Do you remember that one time that someone mispronounced your name, misspelled it, after you've been, so existing in their life? If Africa was a human being, I would imagine the feeling of frustration, anger, and the feeling of strangling that person to death because of what they've just called you. As an African, I've taken it upon myself to fight this battle for my mother Africa, breaking down the stereotypes and myths about Africa. As a foreign exchange student in the United States, my focus will be on the US, where I've observed and experienced these stereotypes first-handedly. Today, I am going to identify these stereotypes, provide the facts, and also compare these facts and stereotypes with American facts. According to Oxford Dictionary, a stereotype is a widely held fixed, oversimplified idea about something or someone. The first stereotype about Africa that I have first-handedly heard from people is Africa is referred to a country. Africa is a continent. It has 54 different countries. And according to Encyclopedia Britannica, Africa is the second largest continent after Asia. The continent is bounded on the north by Mediterranean Sea, on the west by Atlantic Ocean, and on the south by Pacific Ocean and Indian Ocean. According to World Bank, Africa is divided into two regions in regards to the economies. There's the northern part of Africa and the sub-Saharan part of Africa, where the northern part is the more developed economies in Africa, and also it includes South Africa. So South Africa and some other countries in North Africa are considered as the well-developed economies. The knowledge that Africa is a continent leads us to the next received idea, that African speaks Afrikaans. No. Just like the many languages in Africa, Africa has just like many countries in Africa, Africa is made up of many languages, and people speak different languages, and Afrikaans happens to be one of them. Afrikaans is spoken in South Africa, and according to Janet Kayal, who has made language profiles about Afrikaans in the University of UCLA, Afrikaans is among the official languages spoken in South Africa, and it is also known as Cape Dutch. It was formed in the 17th century as a pidgin, creating communication between the Dutch landowners and the African slaves. According to Claire Felter, a web intern at the Christian Science Monitor and the editor of Tufts Daily, Africa has more than 2,000 distinct languages. The language diversity in Africa can be felt even among individual Africans. In a study conducted by Claire Felter, in a city in Western Uganda, a country in East Africa, the average speaker knows about 4.34 languages. And these are actual languages. I can speak 4 languages. That makes me feel more African. The third misrepresentation about Africa is that Africa is a dark continent full of poverty and political instability. According to an old study from 1996, it revealed that common beliefs held among US students is that Africans live as wild natives in primitive herd, and they're also still lagging behind in the hunting and gathering era. I was not going to use this study until someone recently asked me, "Did you wear your first clothes when you came to the United States?" I decided to use some world development indicators from the World Bank statistics, which showed how close specific countries in Africa have shown development as compared to the United States. I used school enrollment, You are here because you want to get education. You are here because you think poverty can be eradicated by education. And that's why you are here in college. So I decided to use school enrollment because I believe most people in the US believe that there's poverty in the US, and that's why most people are coming to school. According to World Bank statistic, school enrollment in primary school started declining from 1999 to 2000 to an average of 98% as compared to 134 in Rwanda. Rwanda is a small country in Africa, and it has a total of 134% school enrollment since then. Now that we have appreciated the knowledge of stereotypes and facts, let's see where these stereotypes come from. According to Francis Hadley, people rely heavily on visualizations presented to them by things, media, or other people. They understand the representation of these places as just a single story. In a story, the dangers of a single story, a fellow African, a writer, a speaker, and a storyteller, Chimamanda Ngozi, tells of how it's dangerous to show over and over the single story of someone, something, because that is what they become. It robs off people's dignity and uses rather than the similarities, and it makes the recognition of equal humanity impossible. It is true there is a lot going on in Africa. It is true there are awful stories, but that's not the only story about Africa. There are good stories like me. There are good stories of people like me who are struggling to give Africa the nice representation that it has. It is when we realize that there is no single story about anything, about any place, that we do create a real paradise.